What's going on, everybody? I'm Kevin from Cigar Prop, and it is another Drew Estate Tabak and Tech Tip Sunday, powered by Monster Energy Rehab. All of our tech tips are generally things that have happened to me at the shop or a fellow coworker during the week, and so I've had a couple of instances this week where I've dealt with personally, and I thought I would like to share them. I have harped on everybody about the importance of having your vehicles inspected on a regular basis. You all know that by now. You all know that you can come to any Tires Plus, Firestone Complete Auto Care, Hibden Tires Plus, or Wheelworks and get a complete vehicle inspection. It's like a report card for your vehicle for just $10. There are times, a lot of times, where you can come in, and if you've got like a noise or something, and say you don't have time, or say you don't have the $10, and it's completely understandable. Just come in, it's like, hey, I got a noise real quick. You just pull up behind one of the bays, look for the guy with the beard. There's always a technician with the beard, tattoos. He looks grizzled. He's actually the coolest guy in the shop that usually knows the most. Pat on the back there. But yes, we'll come out and take a look at your car. So we had a young lady call up, I don't know, a couple days earlier in the week. I'm having my car towed in, and she was a good customer of ours. And she goes, it overheated, and there's coolant everywhere, and it's making a loud noise. And she went on to explain it, and then the vehicle that she was working on, and I'm like, and then she's like, the belt had been squeaking for about 2 weeks. And then everything let go. And I'm like, you got a 4.7 liter in a Durango. I go, I'm 99% sure that water pump, let go. So it got towed in, and it destroyed everything. Fan clutch, upper and lower hose, almost went through the radiator, but we ended up getting her all fixed up. And that was about a $1,400 bill. After just replacing all the damage from when this water pump let go, bearings let go, fan was all wonky, belt smacking into everything. And when she picked it up, I was there, and I told her, I said, you were complaining of a squeak for like 2 weeks. I go, why didn't you come in and see us? We could have taken a look at it. We could have done the work then. Water pump on that couldn't have been more than $500 for a water pump, but you turn this into over $1,000 job. And she's like, I didn't have time. I really didn't have the money. I didn't want the bad news. And it's like, man, I understand cars are expensive, and I understand time. And I told her, I said, if you got like a little, especially like a belt squeak, come on in. Just like, hey, can one of the guys look at my belt real quick? Especially if you're any customer, will do it. But especially if you're a really good customer. And that brings me back to a point I've made a long time ago. You're not just, you're building relationships with your technician, with your shop, with your mechanic, whoever. To when you get into situations like this, it's like, oh, hey, Mrs. Jones, what's going on? Hey, Kevin, I got a little bit of a belt squeak. I'm in a hurry. All right, I'm in between things. Pull up behind my bay real quick. We'll pop the hood. We'll take a little look at it. GM or Durango Chrysler 4.7, GM like in a Trailblazer, couple other cars. You hear a little bit of a belt squeak. Do me a favor, shut it off. You grab that fan clutch and just rock it back and forth real quick, because 9 times out of 10 where that squeak is going to be coming from, and it's going to be the water pump. And then on that one, depending on the severity of it, I've done it, and it's like, stop driving this car. Don't drive it any further. Leave it here. Get a tow truck. Don't drive this, because when it lets go and people are like, oh, it's my only means of transportation, I'm here to warn you what's going to happen. It's going to, like this young lady, it's going to let go, and it's going to take out a ton of stuff. I understand if you don't have the money to fix it, you can park it in our lot. We're not charging you anything. Just leave it there until you can afford it. But some people listen, some people don't. Some people, don't want to hear the bad news. So her just pulling in, let me give it a little listen to, we could have saved her a ton of money. Next up, a gentleman comes in. We change his oil a couple weeks prior, maybe a month prior, and rotated his tires. He knows he's getting a little bit of vibration, you know, and he goes, it's not at all speeds. It's really when you're accelerating. And I'm like, vibration upon acceleration, generally it's always going to be an axle. And he's like, well, I just had it in. You guys didn't notice anything. I'm like, well, we do have oil change technicians, and that's not their job always to notice things that are broken that are out of their scope. Sometimes as techs, we don't get to go over and check every single vehicle with the oil change techs. While they do slip through the cracks every now and then. So we get up in the air, and I mean, there is like not even a half a pinky full of grease around the clamp. And then I brought him out and showed it to him. And I'm like, yeah, this is not, I mean, even I, you know, might have missed this if we're just changing the oil and doing a tire rotation. So yeah, it's understandable that he missed it. And I go, it's really not that bad right now. I go, if you're slinging grease out, it means the seals is damaged, water, everything, dirt couldn't be getting in. And I told him, I said, you know, kudos to you. I go, I'm pretty surprised that you're able to tell that little bit of vibration. I go, that's not something a regular customer, you know, can detect. And I go, are you a mechanic? Have you been in the business? And he goes, no, I just noticed there was just a little bit something different about my car. And I'm like, that is what I have preached, you know, for years. When something changes. Some people will say, the vehicle's getting older. They make noise. Like when a house settles, it makes noises. No, get it in. And sometimes that is the case. Suspensions get weak. They get a little bit creaky. When something changes, get it in right away. Because here's what will happen. You know, he had a synthetic oil change and it was on a Toyota. So he was going probably 7,000 to 8,000 miles between oil changes. That little bit of grease, and it was on the passenger side axle. That would have eventually gotten worse. It would start spinning out more grease. On that vehicle, the power steering pump is right there. It had a belt, you know, on they utilize their own belt for the power steering. Eventually, and we've seen it 100 times on these vehicles, the belt throws because it gets grease on there. You lose power steering. You don't crash or anything. You still have steering. It just gets really stiff. And then now we're cleaning up, you know, grease. We're degreasing that side of the motor. We're having to put a new belt on there. And then while you got to take off the main belt to get to the power steering belt. So you might as well do that belt because there's no additional labor that's involved in that. And plus vibrations of axles, remember that it can go through the transmission, you know, doing damage. And it's not something that you want to have done. You want to catch those axles as soon as you're starting to get a little bit of vibration, or when you notice that a little bit of that grease, or if you get a tear in the boot, you know, get that done right away. But that guy right there, we end up, it was very minor vibration. He wanted it done. We ended up doing it. And it was a super easy job, couple $100 for an axle installed. He was happy, but he caught it. He caught it at the very beginning and potentially saved himself another couple $100. So yeah, when you hear a squeak, when you hear something, if something is done to your car and something else is new, you drive your car all the time. And I've said this before, I know we're running out of time here. If you don't drive your spouse's vehicle very often, get into it every now and then, because you're going to notice something that they may not have noticed. And then you can get it into your local shop. All right, everybody, this has been another Drew Estate Tabak and Tech Tip Sunday, as always, powered by Monster Energy Rehab. I've preached it before, vehicle inspections, Tires Plus, Firestone, Hibden Tires Plus, or Wheelworks if you're way out on the West Coast. And we'll see you cats and kittens next week.